Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, what are the major issues shaping debate in Parliament today? Different issues have been cropping up this week, so we're going to be looking at some of the issues that have been coming up, including the jailing of Bukenya, former Vice President Professor Gilbert Bukenya, and his loss of his parliamentary seat. We'll be talking about the summoning of three NRM diehards, Ministers Sam Kutesa, John Nasasira, and Mwesgwa Rukutana, who had been previously branded as untouchables, have been summoned by the Anti-Corruption Court. We'll look at that. The oil debate in Parliament. The Speaker moves one way, then moves another, then moves another. Eventually, she agrees to recall Parliament after being hesitant to do so. We'll talk about that. And the 49th Independence Celebration due on Sunday. This country marking 49 years. Our guests tonight, Honorable Bettie Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance. You're most welcome, Honorable Kamya.
Thank you, Edmond, and good evening, listeners.
We're also joined by Honorable Gerald Karuhanga, Lead Counsel of the Public Accounts Committee and Youth MP for Western Uganda. You're most welcome, Honorable Karuhanga.
Yeah, thank you, Edmond, and I salute the listeners.
We expect to be joined by Honorable David Bahati, Deputy Chairman of the NRM Caucus, also Member of Parliament for Ndorwa West. Honorable Karuhanga, Bukenya is in jail. He loses his parliamentary seat. Where is this going? From mahogany?
Yeah. You know, it is quite unfortunate that we are seeing selective approach in governance of our country. We know several names were mentioned in the Chogam report. First, Honorable Amama Mbabazi his name came out so prominently. I would have expected to be the very first person to be charged. But what we see here, we see the former vice president being dropped as a vice president. We see him being charged. We see him losing his bail and finding difficulty in actually obtaining bail when his case is forwarded to the High Court. We are also yet to find out whether really there was no influence in the decision that was given by court in his parliamentary electoral petition. So, yes, the law must take its course, and we applaud whoever is doing their work. But our challenge and what we think is a problem is the selective approach. We want everyone to be brought to book. And that's not only dangerous for the ruling party, but for the entire country. Because the moment you begin isolating individuals, then people begin referring certain sentiments. They'll begin tribalizing matters. They'll begin raising issues of sectarianism. I'm told today the Cardinal went to see Professor Bukenya in prison. Somebody can look at it at that angle. So we don't want to cover everyone. Why should you leave behind bars? His name came out prominently in the report. So let everyone whose name was mentioned be brought to book.
Well, but some of the other people, Nasasira, John Nasasira, Mwesgwa Rukutana, and Sam Kutesa, they've been summoned October 13th. They'll be showing up.
Yes.
And the IGG has said there's one name, he hasn't revealed who it is. He's also going to show up.
Now that's where there is a problem. You pick Bukenya first, yes. Then you take care, because I'm very sure this report came out at the same time. They never dealt with one individual. He has all this information.
The IGG.
Yes, the IGG has all this information. And then you first speak out one. When people raise noise and say, no, why Bukenya wrong? Then you bring others. So now you can see he's also trying to buy more or less some, maybe call it time.
But maybe you're reading too much in this. I mean, it takes time to investigate these cases. Bukenya it's only 2 days since he was arrested, and within a time of 48 hours, action has been taken. It can't have been, on the impulse of the event.
Well, one may choose to look at it that way, but I would want to think that if, for instance, they thought we first go for the big fish, then the next fish should have been Mbabazi. And what we see here, our biggest problem is the promotion.
Yes.
You see, whereas the vice president was first dropped even before he was charged as vice president, we see Mbabazi being promoted as prime minister. And there is no way you can say he had nothing to do with the Chogam issues. It is evident in
Maybe
the
we'll talk about that later. Of course, that brings in the president and his perception of corruption in this country. In Rwanda, he said there are many thieves in Uganda, but like I used to say, Mbabazi was mentioned adversely and yet he got a promotion. Of course, some people will say Bukenya was dropped after 8 years. All his predecessors, the two predecessors, served 8 years each. Listeners, we've just been joined by Honorable David Bahati, Deputy Chairman of the NRM Caucus, also Member of Parliament for Ndorwa West. You're most welcome, Honorable David Bahati.
Thank you.
Honorable Kamya, did you agree with what Honorable Karuhanga just said? Is it selective justice, or are the big fish beginning to be squeezed at the head?
Yeah, it is, but clearly for a purpose. I mean, it boils down to selective justice, but I think the reason is not to have selective justice, but it does boil down to that. What I think is driving it are many things. You cannot rule out the power struggle in NRM. It didn't just start. You remember the mafia stories, the mahogany stories. They didn't just begin. They started, the vice president himself said, listen there, what is happening in the NRM camp is a story, I'm fighting with mafia, Then a few days later, he was forced to eat his words in a public show of comradeship with him hugging Mbabazi. I mean, the vice president did say, the mafia are after me. A few days later, he said, no, we have no problem. I was misquoted. But those of us who watched TV, during that press conference, you could see that Mbabazi was in charge of the press conference. So he's the one who was running the show and initiating the hugging and whatever. So I think it has a lot to do with the power struggle in NRM for one thing, and that is a big thing. Another thing that comes out is the president, I think, kind of losing control in a way, because you don't. Of course, you can. The Chogam scandal is not alone. It's not in isolation. It was preceded by the Temangalo scandal, and the MPs wanted Mbabazi to face the law or to get sanctioned. But it is the president who mobilized NRM MPs to let him go. And of course, after that, they were rewarded. Those we called NRM ministers. There was a reshuffle, and some people were made ministers, those who were particularly vocal in defending Mbabazi. Then after that, of course, we see Super Minister Mbabazi was a minister of this, and minister of that, and minister of that. Eventually consolidated into Prime Minister, and of course that came with the humiliation and dropping of Bukenya, which might read like now we know who won the war, the mahogany between mahogany and mafia. Now we can almost see who
is stronger, who's mightier,
who is winning. Yeah, who is winning the war. So it's more than just selective application of the law. That's a product of the things that have driven, the whole controversy. It comes down to that unfortunate thing, which then gets covered up by summoning of these other people who were previous. Like I agree with the Honorable Karuhanga.
Yes.
There's no reason why Bukenya was singled out for prosecution, for bail, when the whole report was actually completed at the same time.
Well, but this man had bail and it expired at a certain time.
Yes.
And he was committed.
Yeah, but why weren't the others all
taken together with him?
Taken together with him. In fact, what we should have heard from the DPC, prosecutor, is that this is we are going to prosecute this list of people.
Right.
And CHOGM was a big budget business, and Bukenya is accused of a section that is worth 9 billion.
Yes.
Out of about how many billions?
About 500 billion.
500. Bukenya is accused of a section that accounts for 9 billion.
Yes.
Purchase of vehicles. But there's so much procurement.
It's about less than 2%.
Less than 2%. But there's procurement of hotel rooms, there's procurement of stationery, there's procurement of media.
I mean, the 2% just says it. 2% is a tiny fraction by any means.
And everything else actually amounted to procurement.
Right.
What about all the others?
Right.
So it's not neat at all. It wasn't neat.
Okay, we'll go deeper on that later. But talk to us about the power struggle. How do you define it, the power struggle in the NRM? Where do you draw the lines?
Well, it's not... I think what's happening is that there's a lot of talk within the NRM itself. They know, even if they will not admit it,
yes,
that there's a lot of pressure for President Museveni to stand down, and clearly anybody who is a politician and has been a politician for the past 25 years knows that this is the time to be positioning yourself.
Right.
And I mean, it's natural. It's natural. It's normal. People will be positioning themselves when the time comes for President Museveni to leave, for them to be positioned where they want to be positioned.
So you think someone is fingering procedure to push out Bukenya so they stay in the limelight?
Yeah, but then also Bukenya is, I think there's more than just prosecuting him. There is also, over the 8 years, he has clearly built himself, he has also obviously built himself some kind of stature, international stature. I mean, he would have wined and dined with the who is who in the world, and you cannot ignore the kind of influence that he would have personally built around himself.
Right.
So in a way, it's like a Dr. Chigundu, once when Dr. Chigundu was treated.
Dr. Suleiman Chigundu.
Yeah, I mean, he suddenly was very influential, had so much money around, and
all of a sudden
things could happen, and we had rumors that people, it's in a way they had to cut him, to trim the wings before they grow too big.
All right. Later, I would like you to talk to maybe very briefly before we move on to hear from Dr. Honorable Bahati. Who is Bukenya the man? What kind of person is he? We see him mimicking the president. Some people think that's very unserious.
To do
well, his guest situations. And then, when he's pushed out, he's no longer vice president. We see him shaking Baba's hand, almost kneeling down. What kind of man is he?
I don't know. For me, it's the man who said, I can't be president. I mean, I can be president, and I should be president, and if somebody says, I can't be president, the only man that can be president is His Excellency Yoweri Museveni. For me, that says it all. He can't be president.
What kind of person is he, in one word?
Really, I don't want to be getting personal.
Let's get it. He's a historical figure. Let's try to understand it. What kind of man is he? Is he a man of his word, or is he,
He's not really a man of his word. I think he's a man that needs a bit of some bones on his back, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to... Really, if I say this is a man who says, I can't be president, and he's vice president,
right,
and the constitution says if anything happens to him, to the president...
You're next in line.
He's the next in line. And he has no ambitions of being president, and he cannot be president. Really, I think it says it all. He shouldn't have been... Maybe he was picked precisely because he can't be president. And then maybe he gets a bit ambitious.
Honorable Bahati.
Yes.
Well, Bukenya is in jail. Some people think he's being sidelined. They say he's being, they're trying to hound him. As soon as he's in jail, he loses his MP seat. The government is hounding him, the NRM party. You don't want to be him to gain, positions higher than he already has.
Well, I think we need to look at this from a broader issue. My colleagues have been saying this is selective justice, presupposing that somebody is actually behind this, that somebody tells the IGG, get this one, he tells the court, charge this one, and vice versa, which I think is not true. The bottom of this started with the investigation of CHOGM in Parliament. Many of the cases that have been concluded now were forwarded to IGG by the PAC. You remember there was some political way of handling things in Parliament, but the cases that PAC had forwarded to IGG continued. Cases that PAC had forwarded to CID continued. So I think we should have a reason to hope that probably systems are working. The IGG is doing its work, court is doing its work. The cases have not been concluded. We should wait for the whole process of justice to conclude and see what happens. Certainly, there is no power struggles in NRM.
There are no power struggles.
There are no power struggles in NRM. The president is in charge. The fact that somebody Bukenya
has been rebelling against him.
Bukenya has, well, that's a good. There's a debate and there's a vibrance in the party. We cannot confuse that one as
in the open, not in the party. They've been rebelling against him.
So the fact that Bukenya has gone to prison or Sam Kutesa has been called to court does not mean that the president is not in charge. I think that's, to me, I don't see how a president of the party can come and say the man is not in charge when actually systems are working.
Let's hear from you, Honorable Karuhanga, before we move on that specific point.
When you say that there are no infights in NRM,
I say there are no power struggles, but there could be intrigue, and the two are different. Intrigue can center on people, trying to fight one another, but power struggles actually means to overhaul the whole system. Certainly, we have a constitution in place that provides the way on how we can change leaders. Everybody is ready to stand for any post, and everybody is ready to accept if he's defeated in any post.
Well, but there was a lot of influence peddling when Bukenya stood against Mbabazi. It was very clear one prominent NRM person was behind one other person. Which person eventually won?
We participated in that national conference. Of course, there was five members: Otafire, Bukenya, and
Elijah
Mshemeza. What happened as a party, we accepted that was our Secretary General, and then we're moving forward.
When we try to hide behind the nomenclature, trying to say, these are not infights, they're not power struggles, it's not fair to our listeners. It is very obvious that there is indeed a very strong and well entrenched power struggle within NRM. And a very evident exercise was the elections you had in Nambole. You could see it, that it was a do or die. And it was so unfortunate that the party chairman, in the name of President Museveni, came out outrightly to support Mr. Honorable Mbabazi against these other fellows. And everyone was like, what is this?
Yes.
And we've seen it build on even today. When his main name comes out strongly in Temangalo, when it comes out strongly in Chogam, the rest are being charged. He's being promoted.
All right.
So you can't ignore that.
Let's pick one fact before we move forward. The president has also said Bukenya is innocent. What do you read in that?
I think now here there is.
You think it's gesticulating?
It's a game of double standards here. And really, it's unfortunate.
It doesn't mean what he says.
It is also important that you being a president, really, at times you have to cease from being the NRM chairman and be a president at some point. Really.
Right. Okay.
Sincerely, you can't say that the president is not aware about the Chogam report, that he's not aware that Bukenya has been prosecuted.
Yes.
And when all this happens, and because there is a lot of pressure from Parliament, from the religious leaders, from the general public, and then he comes out and says, no, actually I think Bukenya is a clean man. No, it's really not fair.
This is Spectrum. The clean man is in jail as we speak. This is Spectrum on radio. And tonight, what are the major issues shaping debate in Parliament today? We'll be back after this break.
Even back when I met George, I noticed something different about him. Maybe it was the way people looked up to him, or maybe it was his willingness to always help. He struggled at the start, and today he is a successful bar owner. Despite his success, George didn't forget where he came from. He built friendships with his patrons and learned from them as much as they learned from him. He used his business acumen to help many others achieve their dreams. The fact is, many people owe their success to him. But George never talks about it. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like George who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special, you've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Is your internet provider turning your world upside down? Broadband Company offers fast and reliable internet solutions. And for the first 100 subscribers this month, we offer zero connection fees. Save up to 400,000. For more information on these offers, call toll-free 0800 222 111.
Broadband Company, more than you expect. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. What are the major issues that are shaping debate in Parliament today? Our guests, Honorable David Bahati, Deputy Chairman of the NRM Caucus, also Member of Parliament for Ndorwa West, Honorable Bettie Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance, and immediate former Member of Parliament for Uganda North. The seat is almost vacant brother word. We don't know if she's coming back or she's not. We also have Honorable Gerald Karuhanga, Lead Counsel of the PAC, that's the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, also Member of Parliament, Youth, Western Uganda. Do you think, Honorable Kamya, are you coming back in Uganda North very briefly before we move forward?
Well,
in case it fell vacant.
I'll have to wait for the judgment. I don't know whether the judge will say it's vacant or whatever. And
then you'll think about it?
I'll think about it.
Talk to your girls, the family, friends,
but
advisors?
People are telling me, people are willing me, but I will think about it. I'll cross the bridge when I get to it.
When you get to it. Let's look at these three men who are in jail. Very briefly before we move forward, we would like to talk about oil and the Speaker, Honorable Kadaga. What do you think is going to happen, those three, Bukenya aside?
What I think, first of all, is that the President, first of all, before he appointed the ministers, the report was out. He had read the report.
Yes.
They had been implicated. And there were cries for them to face the law. All those were clear before he appointed the minister, before the elections. But there were still very key people in his election campaign, and when they were appointed, when they won the elections, they were appointed ministers, which means that really this fight against corruption is not a serious thing. The president is not really angry.
But he complained in Rwanda. He said there are so many thieves in Uganda.
But he lives with.
He saw things working in Rwanda.
He's comfortable with them. He's comfortable
with the corruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very strong statement.
If you can appoint one of the corrupt people to be chief whip of a party,
yes,
one of the corrupt people to be your minister for foreign affairs,
yes,
please,
face of the country,
one of the face
right.
of the country. If you can, and the report was there. He could have said, and everybody would have understood and applauded if he said, in the face of this report,
whether true or not,
whether true or not, in the face of this report, until you're exonerated by court or by IGG, I'm sorry, I cannot appoint you. But he completely ignored this and appointed them, which means that this is a facade. So
you don't think they'll face